Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a Nadu deck. This particular Nadu deck is inexplicably to me only 1.8% of the meta right now, which is staggering considering Nadu was one of the best things we could do before the bannings and it didn't get touched, so surely it's one of the best things we're doing now. But let's dive into it. So this deck is trying to assemble Nadu Winged Wisdom alongside Nomads en-Kor. This combo allows us to draw 2 cards every turn for each creature we control, because we just target something with this and then it triggers the Nadu ability. It was so busted it got banned in Modern, so we're going to keep playing it in Legacy until they ban it there too, I guess. There are 3 main variants of Nadu deck. You have Nadu Zenith, you have Nadu Chord, and you have Cephalid Breakfast. So this is the Chord build because we're trying to use Chord to help assemble our combo. So we are a creature-based deck. We're not playing any counter magic. We are a spiritual successor of Elves decks of past. So we have a bunch of 1-drops here. So we've got Allosaurus Shepherd to make our spells uncounterable, Birds of Paradise, Noble Hierarch. These will power out the mana to play our spells. We've got a couple of Quirion Ranger, which can produce mana, can save our lands from wasteland, but can also target creatures and start the Nadu ball rolling. We've got Springheart Nantuko, which we can use to make a bunch of guys with. More guys equals more triggers, and these just pop off together. Quite often we'll be getting Springheart Nantuko alongside our combo once we're sort of rolling, but mostly our opponent's going to scoop at that point anyway. We've got some Once Upon a Time to smooth things over. We have 3 Endurance because graveyard decks are kind of a big deal at the moment, so being able to hate on them seems like a really good place to be. And then we have our 8 Tutors, and we have a few Silver Bullets. So we have Collector Ouphe, pretty obvious what this is for. We have Sylvan Safekeeper. This can target our creatures and just protect them from removal in general. Keen-Eyed Curator for a bit more disruption of graveyards, as well as just being a big boy that can smash some people down. And then we have the biggest smasher down. This is Craterhoof Behemoth. So we can play a bit like elf decks where we just play a bunch of mana dorks, do some pretty gross things with Cradle, and then power out like Green Sun and go and get the Craterhoof and win that way. We don't have Natural Order in this build, which is something that previous builds did have, but now there's more counter magic in the meta. It means that people are less on the Natural Order plan. So I'm curious to see how this plays out without the Natural Order. But yeah, that's pretty much the deck. Once we start comboing with Nadu, we'll eventually just get to a position where we can put this Craterhoof Behemoth in play and win the game. And that is a pretty solid way of doing things. We can also check all our boxes, make sure we've got our Shepherds in play as well. But basically, once we assemble Nadu and Nomads, we win. Our mana base has 1 Boseiju, 1 Dryad Arbor, which you can go and find with the Green Sun Zenith or Chord if we want to. We have 1 Hedge Maze, and the rest is just mana, including the Cradle, which is obviously a big part. We have 1 basic forest as our only basic land in this deck, which hopefully won't come up, but it might do. Sideboard-wise, we've got some tools to stop combo decks that are faster than us. We've got a little bit of removal if we need to board into something that can disrupt our opponent. We have a Gilded Drake, which is pretty cute. It can be found off of this Chord of Calling and steal a big scary monster, which is pretty nice. We've got some stuff for like Eldrazi and like prison decks. And then we've got some things to blow up Blood Moons or whatever problem permanents happen to come across our path. So that is the deck. I'm curious to see how this plays out without the Natural Order and in the meta where it's changed since we've had the bannings. So yeah, please remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to hit 5k subscribers for my birthday in April, so why not click that subscribe button and help me do exactly that. And if you want to see my videos early, you can be a YouTube member and do that too. Alright, let's do some Nadu Chord action for you lovely people out there. So this is a hand that doesn't actually go anywhere. It's going to need some more action. We do have 8 things that we can find, but we're kind of just playing some stuff out and hoping that it's good enough. These Noble Hierarchs aren't elves, so they will not trigger off of the Allosaurus Shepherd. But what we do have is a lot of Cradle mana. We have the harder part of our combo to assemble because Green Sun Zenith can't find this. So I think we're going to try this and see how it feels. So we're probably looking at getting a forest off of this one. But we'll see what our opponent does. Are they going to be doing prison stuff and blood mooning us on turn 1? Or are they going to be comboing us on turn 1? All possibilities. This looks like a prison deck to me. Stingerback Terror. Don't see that every day. It's just a chalice for 1. It is a chalice for 1. You know what's really good against chalice for 1? Allosaurus Shepherd. I don't really have a way of removing this though. Okay, so we want to get our basic. And I think we want to play the Shepherd out now. It does mean they have a chance to remove it. So there's an argument here for playing out nothing. And then next turn playing... We obviously have to get our basic here. So either we play out nothing and then try and play 2 spells next turn, but that might be more difficult. Then we're just going to play the Allosaurus Shepherd. If they want to burn something like a Fury on this, then they can. The worst case scenario, I guess, is Broadside Bombardiers, but then what are they going to get rid of? Either the Chromox or the Chalice, unless they've got a spare Chromox hanging around. All right, they're paying the life on the Volcanic Fissure here. Is it Broadside? Okay, it's the Magus. That's fine. Our Cradle not going to be an explosive burst of mana anymore. But we still get to keep playing the game, which is something. Got Noble Hierarch in. We don't have another green source to fetch here, so we are a little bit under the gun here. I suppose that means the correct choice is probably Dryad Arbor. A land, creature, Dryad Mountain. I don't believe we're attacking into their 2/2. So now a Fury can really wreck our day. Maybe this is one of the reasons why this deck is not seeing as much play, due to some tension against things like Blood Moon. But we'll see. The One Ring. That's pretty good. So tap it once, and then we get to Collector Ouphe of it. That's alright. We can attack now that we have this Dryad Arbor getting pumped by this Noble Hierarch. I don't mind trading the Arbor. Well, that's pretty good too. I'll play this Cradle out. And then we will play out this Collector Ouphe. Goodbye Chromox as well. Let's play this Noble Hierarch. And then we can attack for 3 with our Dryad Arbor here, because it'll get pumped twice. Okay, we're doing all right here. Now, Fury is something that can just come and wreck our day, like I mentioned. It's going to be hard to combo off, because we're going to need a way of putting this Nomads into play, and that's going to be very difficult. Oh, the chump. No. Did they forget it was going to be larger? They might have thought it was a 2/2 and wanted to trade. Okay, they also forgot that they had the One Ring protection. It's worth doing. Maybe we're not supposed to attack there, but we nearly made our opponent lose their Maze of the Moon, so I think it was worth attacking. But now we can attack with a 4-power Ouphe next turn. And we can sit back with this Endurance just to have some more beef coming in. Alright, this is a problem. Kind of interesting that they don't have the land for this. That's something. If they hardcast us, that's a lot worse for us. But we probably lose the Ouphe and 2 Hierarchs. But it could be Shepherd, Ouphe, and a Hierarch. Okay, they're getting rid of our mana here, leaving us with the Ouphe. That is intriguing. So casting spells is going to be a little bit difficult, but we can obviously green sun Zenith and stuff still. Have they got a Pyrogoyf or a Broadside here? If it's Broadside, I think we just lose, right? They attack, and they can always just clean our guys up whenever they want. Endurance can't block it because it has Menace. Okay, they've exiled Stingerback Terror. So let's just have a little look. So they've plotted it, so it's going to cost 0 mana next turn. Bit of a nombo with the old One Ring here, isn't it? A Noble Hierarch that we can't cast. Awkward. Well, we can cast it, it just won't resolve. Don't want to trade this Magus of the Moon out. What happens if we do that? We get access to the Endurance. Do we need to push damage here? Can I afford to let them draw cards with the One Ring? We're just going to die to Stingerback Terror anyway. Is it worth getting? I suppose we would have to tap this before damage goes through just to get this Endurance. I don't think we can win this one. I think we have to offer this trade and just hope that we can somehow combo over the top of what our opponent's doing. If they block, then we have to set a step in damage. So, Mono Red Prison, Stompy, whatever you want to call it, is the most played Ancient Tomb deck in the format at the moment, I believe. It's certainly the most successful in terms of the amount of top 8s. So if this deck has a good matchup into what we're doing, that could be an explanation why this deck is under 2%, when before it was like top 8 Eternal Weekends and smashing stuff down. So we're either going to unlock our mana, or we're going to deal some damage and hopefully pressure our opponent underneath their own One Ring that's chipping them down a little bit. This is kind of a suspicious play as well. So, okay, they're just letting it go through. I thought that might happen. We need to kind of get these chip shots in where we can. We very much need to find our Green Sun Zenith of the world. We don't have like a Reclamation Sage or Outland Liberator type card. Just go and blow up a Chalice and unlock some stuff. Because if we could unlock our 1-drops, then we're pretty close to just comboing off. We just need the Nadu, which we can obviously tutor for. But we'd have to use a tutor to get the thing that blows up the thing that stops us from playing the Nomads. So there's a lot of hoops that we're going to have to go through one way or the other. Here is the Stingerback Terror. It's currently a 6/6. It's now 7/7. Pretty large, is what you're telling me. Once upon a time. I guess we're casting this. I think we should have used the Cradle, just in case we trade off. Allosaurus Shepherd is a reasonable hit here. Allows us to deploy our green 1-drops. We're not attacking into their massive Flampler. We're just going to take, what, 9 this turn, and then 9 the next turn and die. If we take 7, block the Magus. Take 7, block the Magus. Does that help? Take 7 the following turn, we're still alive. We unlock their 1 ring. We unlock our Cradle. And we can have access to blue mana, so there's a chance of casting the Nadu, which can do some work. A Pyro Ouphe. That's going to do quite a considerable chunk of damage here, because they're probably going to just clear out Ouphe and then attack, so they don't even have to lose their Magus. So they're getting for 9 here. Next turn, they're getting in for 12. So we need a land. No, we need stuff that we can't draw here, because we can't get rid of this Magus. And that is an issue here that we're currently suffering from. I don't know if we have anything here that helps us out. I don't believe we do. They're only on 9, but we can't really pressure that. I'll take a draw just in case, but I think we are dead here. Yep. Alright. Let's have a little look at our sideboard and see if we can find something that helps here. Force of Vigor. I would very much like to have access to you. Hydroblast, pretty good, provided we're not underneath the Chalice. Plows and Ending, also pretty useful. I don't think we want the Gilded Drake for their big guy. So what of our creatures do we not need? We don't actually need the Graveyard Hate here. Also, the green pips on Endurance can be a bit tricky in certain situations. I think the Collector Ouphe is still fine here though. So we get rid of these. We don't need, where is it? Keen-Eyed Curator. We probably don't need the Sylvan Safekeeper. It can protect us from like a scary Fury type situation, I suppose. It's maybe okay. I'll put this over here though, because we have a lot of stuff that we would like to bring in. So far this gives us what, something that looks like this. Now there's arguments for Consign to Memory as well, but I think the Hydroblast is something we definitely want here. But where we fit them in is a trickier proposition. If we're boarding in all these things, are we supposed to... I don't think we can... This is not a deck where we're boarding lower on Once Upon a Times here. We need like the early turn to really go well for us. So I don't think we're boarding on these things. I think this is probably all we get to board in. Oh, we're a 61 card deck, aren't we actually? Sorry, we get 100 Blast. And I think that's about it. We could trim on one of these 1-drops because they're not the best against what our opponent's doing. But also they're very good against Blood Moon. So I don't think we can go lower on those. Shepherd's good against Chalice. We're not going to go lower on our Nomads because that's our combo that just wins us the game. So I guess this is what we're looking at here. Again, the Springheart Nantuko can buy us a lot of time. Okay, this is an unkeepable hand, so we're going to mulligan it without any starting mana. This hand looks okay. I don't like having 2 Once Upon a Times, but you know what? We can put 1 back, so I will take that. So we go keep, get rid of this Once Upon a Time, and let's kick things off. So we're going to jam this Once Upon a Time first. See what materializes from it. A Nomads, a Cradle, a Windswept Heath. Quite like the Cradle here. Obviously comes with some issues if we're just getting Blood Moon. But we're going to go and get our only basic right now. I did say it's something that might come up, and boy howdy has it come up in this league already. So let's get this Noble Hierarch just so we have more access to mana next turn, so we can maybe play a couple of things and do a big Cradle turn. This also gives us white mana for the Nomads. So we can go Nomads, Shepherd, play this, tap for 3, Green Sun Zenith for 2. That's not really where we want to be, is it? We want to Green Sun Zenith for 3. Just an enters the battlefield tap land. That's good news for us. Quirion Ranger. So this is... Can we go here? Because this is +1 mana. I think we do get to go here, right? We go Nomads, play the Ranger. Yeah, this is going to be a pretty spicy turn. So we return a forest to untap our Noble Hierarch here. And we get to Green Sun Zenith for 3. And this is the turn 2 Nadu combo. We'll keep the untapped one, please. We'll tap this for mana now, just in case we lose this to another Cradle. And we can just generate all the value we need here. Keep this one. This is why we've been tapping them. So what are we doing now? We can deploy this Allosaurus Shepherd. This gives us 2 more draws. And we just continue doing this thing until either our opponent scoops or we can just make enough stuff that we can't lose the game. We can Green Sun Zenith for another Nadu here. Actually, we can Green Sun Zenith for the Springheart Nantuko here. That gets us where we need to go quite quickly. Crack this. Always yield to this. So every time a land comes off the top, we make another guy. Every guy we make is more triggers. And eventually we kill our opponent with a massive Craterhoof. Okay, then we just play this Nadu here. Keep the new one. Resets all of the triggers. Off we go again. Chord here. Do we have a Springheart Nantuko in hand? No. So we're going to get the other Springheart Nantuko here. Like at some point we're going to find a Cradle here and pop off. So this is the annoying thing that got banned in Modern. But we do have a way of winning the game this turn, so we're going to keep clicking through it. At some point we will find this Cradle. We don't have any more targets for our fetch lands, so we don't get to make more guys off of that. I don't know which ones I've clicked on, which ones I haven't, but we have so many that we shouldn't have a problem here. Just dig into Cradle. So you can keep the endurance in when you sideboard because it lets you go infinite. But we don't need to go infinite, we just need to make a massive Craterhoof here. And we can always reset the Nadu and do this if we need to. But we are basically going through a whole deck this turn. So it's a nice showcase of the steady things this deck can do. I'm trying to remember which ones I've clicked on and which ones I haven't. Where's our Cradle? There's 2 Cradles here. And there's 1 Cradle here. So the last card in our deck is a Cradle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last card in our deck has to be a Cradle, right? Let's just check. It is a Cradle. We will choose nothing. Put the Cradle into play. We need to find the right one that we need to click on here. There we are. So then this happens. Tap is for how much mana? 29. Make a large Craterhoof Behemoth. Craterhoof Behemoth is enormous. Go to attacks. Attack for 35. Oh, plus whatever Noble Hierarch triggers are. That is a pretty messed up turn 2. Okay, let's try and do that again. So things get a lot more difficult on the draw because our opponent can just play a prison piece turn 1. We don't have much in the way of getting through that. What does this hand achieve for us? Not like we have access to a basic. And we get to cast multiple green spells if we can get our Quirion Ranger down because this allows us to untap our green spells. This does have access to our combo. We will need some more mana for this to work. I think we can do better. Like this is just Stone Cold Dead to a Chalice pretty much. I think we can do a little bit better. This looks similar but different. We get rid of the Nomads, then our hand is kind of the same deal all over again. A little trickier there. Right, one more mulligan I think here. Okay. This works, I guess. We probably get rid of this and probably has to be the Springheart. Okay, turn 1 Blood Moon beats us. Turn 1 Chalice probably beats us. Maybe we're supposed to mulligan lower just for something like a Force of Vigor, but our opponent in game 2 kept a hand that did nothing on turn 1, so it's certainly possible they've kept a similar hand. Volcanic Fissure. Untapped. Something's happening here. Okay, they probably got Dead and Gone in their deck. That's what that suggests to me. Let's get this Ranger down. I do feel a little bit vulnerable not having access to a forest here, like a basic forest. Yep, there's a Dead and Gone that we suspected. But that's just a 1-for-1 trade, I can live with that. Ancient Tomb. Blood Moon? Fable, okay. We get to continue playing this game. We have the combo in hand. We just need enough mana to get this into play. A Force of Vigor. It's not a bad one to have access to, is it? Play the Savannah. I think we want to play out the Nomads here. It does expose it to being killed, but we need to get it in underneath the Chalice. We also need to have more mana on the next turn. because Cradle is going to be tapping for 1 at this point, so we can get a bit closer to where we want to be. I don't think we're intending to pitch this Force of Vigor. Alright, they kept all the cards in their hand off of this looting from the Fable, so I believe our opponent is going to win this game based on that. Because that means they got a lot of stuff. So we could blow up both of these right now, so they don't get an option to use this mana. But all the things I'm scared of at like 3 mana, 2 mana anyway, I'm about to be proven wrong. Could be the 1 ring, but that's obviously annoying. It's a Pyrogoyf. That's fine. We just lose 1 guy. Next turn they can start copying, which is less exciting for us. That is going to blow up our things. I would like to find a better green card to pitch. I don't really want to pitch one of the best cards in our deck. And we get a window to blow this up before it can copy stuff anyway, because it's going to be tapped for a turn. Chord of Calling. So what are we going to tutor for with this green sun? We can't really afford to tutor anything with this green sun, can we? So we need it to get our Nadu going. We could get a Dryad Arbor or a Noble Hierarch and try and get up the curve. But we're probably going to have to blow this up in this turn cycle. Which means we're probably going to have to pitch this Chord of Calling to do it. Do I think just getting a 1-drop here actually makes a big difference or not? Not really. Okay, I think we're going to just get beaten down on this one. Hopefully our opponent blows something that's worth... plays something that's worth blowing up. Like, again, I could blow up this treasure token, but I'd rather like nail a chalice or something, or a blood moon. We can't allow them to just have Pyrogoyf being copied every turn, because each Pyrogoyf sees the other Pyrogoyf, and that's just too much damage. They'll be doing us, what, 6 damage a turn? No, is it 8 damage? It's a lot. So I guess we have to do this now. Thanks, I hate it. A Nomads en-Kor. Well, this gets us towards where we need to be. 1 more mana, and then we can Zenith up a Nadu. So we need our creature to survive. We need to draw a mana source. And we need the top of our deck to be relatively kind. It doesn't have to be that kind, because we do get to draw a lot of cards. Okay, so this is about a third of our life total. I guess we take that. If they hard cast something like a Fury now, then that's just lights out. Because we need this Nomads. Don't do it, opponent. Here it is. Feel my bones. There it is. Welcome to Lights Outville. I don't think we can come back from this point. What we have to draw? Something astronomically good here. So we can Green Sun Zenith for 2. It's not going to beat what our opponent's doing. I think that's just the end of the game. Yeah, that felt pretty horrible, actually. I can certainly see why this deck would be an annoying one for us to have to play against. But, you know, we do sometimes just turn 2 people. But yeah, lots of red removal that can pick off multiple guys, plus some unlock pieces that we actually do have to play through. Okay, let's go to round 2. Some Nomads we can't cast. A tech piece that isn't always useful. I think we can do better than this. Okay. I do like how Endurance feels in the meta right now. We're just going to play like some beat stick magic. I'm going to keep this on bottom one of the fetch lands. So we can just... This is a hand that is going to be pretty good against things like Delver, because the Endurances are very good in that spot. Ponder. Off of a tropical island. So our opponent might be on something like Omnishow. They might be on a Nadu deck of some description. We just don't know. Could even be a Delver deck where they're fetching their trop first because they don't care if it gets wasted. If they have like one other land in hand and it's a red source or something. But maybe you still probably would get the other Volcanic in that point. So we'll see. They did not use Ponder's ability to shuffle. Chord of Calling. It's all coming together. Am I getting a basic here which takes us off of white mana outside of this Hierarch? I think so. I just don't want to get wasted off of green. So next turn we can either Endurance or we can Hedge Maze, depending on what our opponent is showing us. It's probably going to be the Hedge Maze, but the Endurance does empower up our Cradle. I think we're going to have to see what we draw, because we want more bodies on board so we can get the Chord of Calling rolling. Okay, our opponent's on Infect. In that case, I'm inclined to play this Endurance. To get more bodies in the way. Do I need to play this out now? Is that better than the Cradle? Probably. We don't want to expose the Cradle. Our opponent might have Wastelands. I think we do get a Savannah here though, just for later. I don't think we need to fire off Endurance now. We can fire it off on our opponent's turn and see if it messes with anything that they're trying to accomplish. Because it might force them into trying to keep their Glistener Elf alive, which is going to be a bunch of resources that are needed to kill us that are going into our creature instead. A Ponder. We also get to take these cards out of our opponent's graveyard so that we can make the Delve spell harder to cast. They can't cast it now, it's like 5. It's 5 plus a green to Delve. So that's going to be requiring some additional tools, so hopefully we can put that off of our radar as things that we have to do. Okay. They can cast it now if they tap out everything. Does the Sorcery Speed Pump spell any chance? So 3 mana, so 3 cards in hand is enough cards to kill us with a Glistener Elf. Let's try an Endurance. This worst case scenario is Daze plus Berserk Invigorate. That is enough. So we have to decide if we're blocking here or if we're taking the damage. Double Invigorate kills us here. I think we are blocking. Just force some action out of our opponent here. Oh wow, they just had nothing. That is excellent news for us. We got another Glistener Elf, or is this a Blighted Agent? Yeah, we don't get to block that one, so I'm glad we saved some poison that time. An Allosaurus Shepherd. So this is basically free to cast with our Cradle in hand. Put this one out. So we could go and get Nadu. That doesn't actually stop any of this shenanigans from ruining our day. Do I need to Hedge Maze and try and spike something here? Or do I need to play the Cradle and get this Endurance out? Endurance is +1 mana. Is the problem mana or is the problem cards? So we do need something to go with this Chord of Calling. So I think the problem is the Hedge Maze. That is the thing that's most likely to find us a way to win this game. Keen-Eyed Curator is not the one we want. That can go into the graveyard. We can't block this anyway, so I'm going to bash for 2. Alright, here's the moment of truth. Are we dead or not? In comes the Blighted Agent for 2. Where's our Malira that we can go and fetch? That'd be funny. And some old tech from Modern once upon a time. Just a little chip shot for 2. Okay, I'll take that. A Green Sun Zenith, you say? So we can do our combo here. So this, we need to tap 4 creatures for this to work. Or pay 4 mana. Is it more important to get the Nadu down first? Very glad that we Hedge Maze last turn. Our spells can't be countered, and they don't really interact with permanents on the board very well. Let's go and get this Nomads en-Kor. Okay, so then we start doing our shenanigans. Make sure you yield to all your stuff when you're playing online, because then you can do it a lot quicker. We got something going here. We can obviously do everything in response. I think they're just trying to get this out of the way so they can F6 our turn. That seems quite likely to me. We'll keep the untapped one. Again, we tap it for a bunch of mana now in case we lose it in a second. So we Green Sun Zenith for the Springheart Nantuko. Oh, I got the wrong one there. Didn't mean to get that one. Whoops. Misclicked. Just trying to go quickly because it's obviously not the nicest experience for our opponent. Right. Let's keep going. Still not hitting any lands yet. That's kind of wild here. Are we really in a position where we need to stop going here? I don't think we are. We can exile this. We can go and get another Nadu, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can't quite get another Nadu yet. If we pitch this, we have 6, so we just go get another Nadu and reset. That's fine. So we'll pitch this. Get rid of Once Upon a Time is fine. Targets us. And then we get some more cards out of it. Okay, we've hit land now. We'll chord using our guy. Let's get the other Springheart Nantuko. And then we'll go and get ourselves a Dryad Arbor, because this represents more draws as well as getting these guys popping off. Alright, so it should just be the insects that we're working on now. Quite a lot of nonsense we have to collect through here, but the deck is clearly doing some powerful things. And moving our stuff around all the time. We keep this new guy's cradle here. How many creatures do we have? A whole bunch. 21. That is a lot of creatures, isn't it? So we can jam this and this. And then we can untap this Allosaurus Shepherd, bouncing this. We can untap this Noble Hierarch, bouncing this. And we can keep going if we want to, it doesn't really matter here. We have this one sewn up at this point. Making sure our creatures are big enough. They're all going to be pretty lethal here, aren't they? So we can go Chord of Calling, pay a bunch of mana. Go get Big Daddy Hoofs here. Are we getting stifled? No. We can go to attacks here. And smash our opponent for 100 damage. 10-4, 100 damage, not too bad. A lot of clicking, but there we are. So, our opponent is playing Infect. So, Swords to Plowshares seems like a useful card to have access to. The Prismatic Ending, pretty reasonable too. Our opponent is a deck that can try and go underneath us. Do we want Deafening Silence? That can stop our opponent from just womboing us in one turn. This will force our opponent to have multiple attack steps into us. So this could just buy us time. It does slow our own roll a little bit. We don't need Collector Ouphe. We don't need Keen-Eyed Curator. We don't need these Endurances. We can keep one if we want to, just to shuffle back in again. But that's quite an easy cut there. And if we want Deafening Silences, where are they going to come from? That is the tricky part. I think we just keep the removal as our interaction instead. Because the Deafening Silence will just potentially slow them down, whereas the removal will slow them down a lot. What does this hand do? Very little. We have white spells we can't cast. We have some big top end and no way of getting it out of our hands, so let's mulligan. Birds into Springheart, make a token. Yeah, I'll keep this one. What are we getting rid of here? Probably get rid of the Boseiju. And we go get Savannah to play our birds. Glistener Elf. So our opponent might try and turn to us. If that happens, then it happens. There's not really much we get to do about that, unfortunately. I'm not going to block with my Bird's Paradise. But I'll happily block with all of these 1/1s that we're going to be having from next turn onwards. Hierarch. We can still die this turn. I need to have a second land or multiple Invigorates. But we're just going to take it, and hopefully it's going to be 2 poison, and we're going to go to our turn and have a lovely turn. Just 2 damage, sure. Okay. A Hedge Maze. So we want to play the Springheart Nantuko up first. It does play into a Daze, but I think that's a price I'm willing to pay. So we get a token here. This gains us more mana. Play birds. Play Ranger. Untap our birds. Towards Nomads. And that's not a bad turn. We played our entire hand pretty much. Gaia's Cradle taps for many, many manas at this point. I'm going to chump block with the insect, although I could chump block with the Nomads. They only have to assign it 1 damage though, so if they trample over, we can't just redirect all the damage. It doesn't really make a difference there. So it probably is just the insect that goes under the bus. Because trample doesn't keep assigning damage until it's killed the creature and go over. You assign damage equal to the creature's toughness, and then the rest goes elsewhere. This could be the unblockable guy. No, 3 mana. They're playing their own Nadu. Yeah, I guess that makes sense with the way their deck works. Alright. All hail our Bird Overlord. So no attack from the Glistener Elf. Can we find a Nadu this turn? We can make a guy and then make another guy. And Surveil. I think that's fine. They might not even be doing like Nadu combo in their deck. I'd be surprised if they weren't. It seems like such a powerful thing to be doing. We go and get a Hedge Maze here. And just try and surveil ourselves towards a thing like Zenith or the Chord. A Brainstorm from our opponent. Noble Hierarch. Okay, that was off their white mana, so that suggests that they are less likely to be doing Nadu things. Alright, they're attacking with this guy for 3. Under the bus with you. We're getting berserked. Chump blocking is something we get to do a lot of. So that's okay. Another Glistener off, sure. Let's go and get that Hedge Maze. We do need to resolve our Nadu as well, which might not be the easiest depending on what our opponent's doing. I'll put this Nadu on top of my library. I'll play this out. I'll tap for a bunch of mana. I'll deploy this Nadu. Do we resolve, or do you have exactly forcible blue card in hand? Because we can play through Dazes. I'm going to hit our Nomads en-Kor. Okay, so I will float a... No, I won't. I'll float a white mana here. Then I will turn a forest to untap this Birds of Paradise. We got plenty of hits off the top of our deck here. We just had a forest. Okay, we don't get to return anything right now. We have to wait until our opponent's turn if we want to do that. But we've got a lot of chump blockers. We've assembled the Nadu combo and our opponent hasn't. So that's put us in good stead. You can block with our Dryad Arbor and then bounce it. Legolas's quick reflexes. Yeah, that's pretty good. They get to gun down our Nadu here if they want to. Problem is, if they target any of our creatures, we get a Nadu trigger, and that could end up getting us a Chord, and we just win the game. I kind of stacked this. Okay, they've stacked it right in the end. They only need 4 here. So we resolve our trigger first. We got a land. Okay, I'm going to untap this Birds for mana first. And then we will untap this, bouncing this forest. Should have tapped the forest for mana as well. So we get another Nadu trigger going. Keep this one. Lose our Nadu. Our deck is designed to be good at finding Nadu though. I wonder if they can just string a bunch of pump spells on this and draw more. That'd be interesting. Game is panning out weird, as Nadu mirrors often do. Another 1/1 guy. Sure. A Noble Hierarch. So we will play this Hedge Maze. Have a little look at the top of our library. Hope that we find something useful. Chord of Calling. Put that on top. That's not really what our opponent wants to see either. Us putting something on top. Let's get this Noble Hierarch going. And next turn we just chord for Nadu. And live the dream. Like, we don't even have to chord for Nadu. We can just chord for Craterhoof at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All of our creatures will be 14 power minimum with trample. We don't even need to Nadu. Nadu is a nice safety net if our opponent has some removal. Actually, that's not even true, is it? Do I think we can just take this damage when our opponent has 2 cards in hand? I think so. Like, we could Nadu, or we could just try and win the game right now. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. How much does this tap for? A whole bunch, right? Let's put our land out. Get another guy. 14. I think it's right to just send this for Craterhoofs. Put this game to bed. Because we don't have, like, that much Nadu stuff going on. We can just play this massive guy. Do you have exactly Force of Will blue card in hand? They had a Force of Will. Okay. That's annoying. So what am I doing here? I'm probably attacking with a Birds of Paradise. Is that true? Attack with one of these guys for 2. That's fine as well. Okay, they did have blue card. Sorry, they did have Force of Will. So maybe I have to chump block with a Birds of Paradise soon. Okay, so this will trade, but I'm happy to make that trade. When we go to our opponent's turn, this will die. Alright, Birds of Paradise, welcome to the bus. I think we need to chump block now. Bird on bird violence. Alright. We have 2-3 draw steps, give or take. Ingmoth Nexus, that does change the shape of things somewhat. Nadu Winged Wisdom, you say. I'll play this land. I'll play this Nadu Winged Wisdom. Do you have another Force of Will? And cast it off of their Hierarchs. They do indeed. Alright, like, we've had some pretty good rips, so have they. Our rips are less good than our opponents, statistically speaking, because our opponent has only 4 Force of Wills in their deck, whereas we have a whole bunch of things that are pretty solid. Is this a turn we chum block with the Birds of Paradise or not? So this is coming in for 5. I think we can go to 4 here. No, like Invigorate doesn't kill us here because it grows their guy. Berserk would, but Berserk would work through our chump block anyway. Come on, deck. One more hot rip. How many elves do we actually have here? Not as many as I would like. And this is, they become 5/5s. It's not, they like get pumped by +5/+5, whatever. Okay. Allosaurus Shepherd. Our spells are going to be uncounterable. We could attack with this Quirion Ranger, but they can chump block it and then this would die. I think I'm just going to attack. We should have attacked with an insect last token as well. An insect token last turn as well, even. Alright, so we have to chump block with the Birds of Paradise and draw something good. So Zenith, Chord, Craterhoof, Nadu. We got a bunch of good shots in there. Endurance, we have 1 left in the deck. That buys us another turn. Here's the thing about Nadu, it's still just a 3-mana 3/4 flyer. That's pretty reasonable. Even if you're not comboing with something, it's still got a good ability. If it just included itself, that'd be really solid. Are we getting berserked? We are getting berserked. They're going to show us another card from their deck. A tropical island. So this is going to go over and kill us. Okay. Let's go to game 3. Being on the play feels like quite a big deal here. Let's just go back in. We could bring in a Gilded Drake and steal their Nadu. That seems like a weird way of playing the game though. We also only have 8 minutes on our clock. I think we have to mulligan this. It doesn't do anything. Yeah, we'll keep this one. What are we throwing back? Is it a chord or is it a plow? Do we just index into what we're trying to do? I think I'll throw back 1 chord. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So we probably go Savannah, Hierarch, and then we go and get Trop to play the Nadu on turn 2. And then turn 3 we can try and win the game. More or less. Here comes the Hierarch. Now if our opponent plays Glistener Elf, we could always plow it straight up. But if they play something like a Noble Hierarch, we can just ignore it. They're plowing our guy, sure. So now our line is pretty clear. We have the Hedge Maze that comes off the Windswept Heath here. And we just draw some more creatures. Like, our deck is full of creatures. We're going to draw creatures. That's not in any doubt, really. We're definitely going to be able to spam some creatures to the board. But it's just how many turns do we have? Okay, just a mana dork. Don't care about that. That does not kill me. Just going to get a Hedge Maze. Tropical Island. We do need another land. I'll keep this on top. We don't have the most amount of time on clock. But I think playing on the Nadu here is correct. Like if they remove it, if they remove it, it's still a 2-for-1 for us. And our deck is very much dedicated to doing this one thing, whereas our opponent's deck isn't. Alright, no end of turn removal spell, just Hedge Maze. That doesn't mean they don't have a removal spell, but you have to remember they did also mulligan quite low, and they've already used 1 removal spell. Brainstorm, pretty solid. So we can, pending anything that they play this turn, and just start crashing for 3. It means we have to get to a slightly smaller critical mass when we're going through our combo before we Craterhoof. Fetch land to follow up the Brainstorm. We're getting ploughed, so we get a trigger here. Another Nadu. Don't mind if I do. Going to get attacked for 1? We are. And we get to jam another Nadu. They didn't daze the last one. They could daze this one, but we haven't seen a daze yet, have we? Okay, we don't have to worry about the daze now. Okay, they had a force. Pretty good multiply for our opponent there, but now they are out of stuff to do. I don't think I care about this Noble Hierarch enough to remove it. So we're just going to go and get a Dryad Arbor in our opponent's end step, most likely. If they play a creature, we can remove it. We're just playing top deck wars, but our deck doesn't have loads of like pump spells and stuff that aren't the greatest of draws for our opponent. Dryad Arbor. A Cradle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're not quite up to the mana we require to chord for what we want here. I'll just get our little 1 damage in. We're winning the race. What are you up to, opponent? We're just getting attacked for 1 again. Alright. The classic combo mode of 2 combo decks, both kind of stop each other going off, and then we're just trying to hit each other with the really flimsy pieces that are left over. Any creature, please. I will cast this. What am I tapping? We want to keep the white mana up. Kind of want to keep the blue mana up, but that means not attacking with the Arbor this turn. I could always tap with the Cradle, I guess. Allosaurus Shepherd is pretty good here. Like, I like the Endurance just to start beating down some more. The Shepherd looks solid here too. So we can just start attacking for 5 if we want, if that's what we want to do. Or we could also go and get a Nadu next turn with this Chord. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. So that's enough to Chord for a Nadu. It does play into a Daze. But again, we haven't seen the Dazes. But what sort of stuff could they have in their hand? Like pump spells, I guess, and counter magic. Maybe removal spells. We also want to Chord around potential Containment Priest. So have the plow up so we can answer a Containment Priest if that's what we're doing. A Glistener Elf. Are we killing this now? Do we care enough? We could pending it instead. Let's see what we draw. Allosaurus Shepherd, this is basically free to play out. So pending this Glistener Elf, I think is the correct play, but there are definitely ways that this goes wrong. So if, for example, our opponent's just been sandbagging the combo against our white removal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can just Chord for Nadu here if we want. And it's uncounterable. It is doubly uncounterable. Okay, so we're just going to go get this Nadu. That way if our opponent does try and remove anything, then we're all good. Next time we can bash for lethal damage because we have 10 here and we have 3 in the air. We done enough? Our opponent's not a deck that really interacts with our stuff on the board that often. They do have a handful of plows. More than some effect decks I've seen. But I doubt they're going to have many more at this point. They've already seen 2 through a quarter of their deck. A Chord of Calling. Well, that's just pretty good here, isn't it? Let's just go and get our little friend. We've got 4 minutes. That's plenty of time to do this. Time to get our yields in. We can also reset the Nadu and go again if we need to. Alright, we're just going to do a little bit of Nomads in here. Let's just make this. And we've got the Springheart Nantuko popping off as well now. And then we can just Cradle. We can just Zenith for what we need here. We don't need to go through all the reps here. We can just make our creatures large and smash them down. Alright, we got the match there. I guess the Infector's a Nadu deck as well now. Good to know. We're 1-1, let's go to round 3. Yeah, this hand plays. I like the fact that we can approach this game uncounterably. It's a little bit slower than I'd like, but we do have the graveyard covered for some of the most egregious combo decks that are graveyard based. So hopefully we're not going to get reanimated on because we'll have an uncountable endurance. That might cost us our Chord, which will slow us down a bunch, but we'll still have Nadu ticking from turn 3. I am going to get the non-basic here. I don't think we should have started out with this land. I think I played it thinking I was going to go and get a basic and then sort of caught myself and thought, actually no, we want to be able to cast our blue spell. No wasteland though, that's nice. Okay, I will deploy a Birds of Paradise and I will attack for 1 damage. We still have uncountable endurance, but our opponent isn't threatening an end of turn Entomb over there. It could be a combo deck of some description. There's a few of them that just have Island Go starts. Things like Show and Tell, Omni-Tell, that sort of ballpark. High Tide. Underground Sea. Okay, we're in it now. I'm going to see some removal. I'm going to play this Nadu. An Orcish Bowmasters on our poor little defenseless Allosaurus Shepherd. This means they probably have a Force of Will or Double Daze. Did not have either of those things. Intriguing. I'm going to try and play this Quirion Ranger. They did have a Daze. Okay. But we have Chord into Nomads next turn, which should just run through what our opponent's doing. A Brainstorm. Not surprised to see that. They need to find an answer. I Thoughtseize. It's pretty good. Goodbye, Chord of Calling. I guess we're on the fair beatdown plan with our 3 mana 3/4s. No attacks from our opponent into our Nadu. A Bird of Paradise. I'm going to attack with my Nadu Winged Wisdom. I'm going to hold up this Endurance, playing around days. Be interested to see if our opponent attacks or not. Do they have an answer for our Endurance? Or they want to flush it out so they can do some graveyard stuff? Because I don't know how into the graveyard our opponent is going to be. Okay, there is a Wasteland. Okay, they didn't want to flush out our reanimation, our anti-graveyard spell. We are just going to play this Endurance now. We can shrink their graveyard so they don't get Murktides. And then just bash with 2 big boys. And if our opponent's life total is low, the card Reanimate doesn't do very much. Okay, chump block, we're doing half your life total. So if we hit them for 6, that does stop certain reanimation lines from being viable. So if I play this Birds of Paradise and our opponent manages to put an Archon of Cruelty into play, then I lose the Cradle as well. So I'm going to keep this Cradle in hand. Right, yes, we could have kept the Archon of Cruelty going around, but we're getting Borrowed. Petty Theft on the Nadu. A Noble Hierarch. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. We're getting attacked for 1? Yeah, get the bits in. Alright, we'll take the 1 damage. We're getting Kaito'd. Kaito's good. Yeah. Spicy. Are they going to draw a card? It's a thing you're allowed to do with Kaito. We can just attack Kaito directly though. And we can kill it using this Noble Hierarch. Alright, they're tapping our guy, so we can't do that. We can attack it with our Birds of Paradise though. That's Noble Hierarch. Let's play out this Cradle. So this Birds of Paradise is basically free to play out here. Because of our Cradle. They know we have this Nadu. They have an answer for it? Force of Will. 1, 2, 3, and 1. We're going to go and get an Allosaurus Shepherd here. And make our spell uncounterable. Boom! That's got to feel horrible. Go attacks. This can attack the Kaito. We get 1 Endurance trigger there. Sorry, Endurance, Exalted. So we can strip the Kaito back down to 1 loyalty. So they're probably going to take up to 2 loyalty here. We can just take the hit. And by them playing Kaito, it shows us they're not the graveyard-based deck. Now, they're probably going to have Murktides or something in there that cares about the graveyard. They're not going to be trying to put Atraxas and Archon Cruelties into play on turn 2. Wait, are they attacking before they've... Okay, this suggests to me that they have a Bowmasters and they're trying to make us block. Or it's just a real desperation play where they need to draw a card here. But if it's a desperation play, then we're probably fine not playing into anything anyway. So 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. We're 1 damage shy of killing our opponent next turn. Because unfortunately our dorks aren't elves. They did make us use our chord on getting a Allosaurus Shepherd. But obviously that went pretty well for us. I'm surprised they haven't wasted our Cradle yet. Here it comes. No? No? They have something better than wasting our Cradle. They're going to ping our Allosaurus Shepherd and let us draw a card. So it did have the line to make us block and then ping our guy. Right, we get trigger. It's a Nomads. How do you feel about that one, opponent? They do not feel very good about it and they scooped. Don't blame them. I dislike the Nadu deck quite a bit. But what are we doing here? Honestly, our deck looks really well set up for this already. The only thing that might be scary is the Harbinger, but it's not even going to be that scary because it'll give us blue mana to cast a Nadu, and then we can just have our 1 forest. So there's an argument for, I reckon, this selection of cards. I don't think I want them. I think I would like the ending, actually. The ending's probably what we're going to do. We're going to trim an Endurance. I don't think it's Endurance. It's a Collector Ouphe goes and gets us an ending. The reason for the ending is our opponent might be running Grafdigger's Cage. But this also is a nice catch-all that can hit other stuff. But I think we're quite well set up for this matchup anyway. They didn't show us any white mana for anything like a Containment Priest. I think Grafdigger's Cage is very well positioned as a sideboard card right now. Ooh, I like the look of this hand. I think we do lead off on the Hierarch. And we probably get the basic forest this time around. There is the Grafdigger's Cage, like I mentioned. So that shuts down the Zenith in our hand. That's okay. So we need to be careful. Like, the worst case scenario here is they Bowmasters this. That's probably quite bad for us. We do need to play our guys out. Fatal Push. Okay, that's fine. Okay, Springheart Nantuko is pretty darn good as cards go. Let's go Shepherd into Ranger. So now we're protected from wastelands because we can bounce our own lands. We also get to keep recurring Springheart Nantuko stuff. So what we can do here is we can put Springheart Nantuko on the Quirion Ranger, then make loads and loads of copies of Quirion Ranger so that we have more things that we can trigger into a Nadu. That is an interesting line. And they're elves, so they get pumped by the Shepherd. We could also just make our Shepherd, more copies of our Shepherd, so our stuff is uncounterable. But we don't have to do it that way around. I'm going to bestow this on this Ranger here. We've got time here. We've got a daze. It can't be countered because of our Allosaurus Shepherd. Did they mean to fire off a removal spell? Okay, I will deploy this and I will make a copy. This is a slightly slower approach to the game. I think that's okay. I don't really want... Like, Bowmaster's going to hit this anyway, and they probably would have fired off the Bowmaster, so I think we're just going to crash here. If we get blown up by a Snapcaster Mage in the year 2025, then so be it. I think we're just going to see a Surveil land under 6 sewers here. There it is. They like the card they found. Was it Toxic Deluge? We at least still get... It's probably the Brainstorm then. But if they Toxic Deluge, we get to keep the Springheart, which is part of the reason to bestow it there. But we can also just leverage these resources because we have a lot of cards on our deck that don't do what we'd like them to do. Thoughtseize, so they're going to take our Nadu here. Now they have a Tamiyo. And Endurance. Endurance is fine. So what are we doing here? We are floating a mana. This can target itself. We can play this. We can make a copy. Go attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're 1 mana off of just popping this for massive yachts. Because all of these are elves, so they all get to be bigger next turn. Sure, they can soak up 1 damage, but they're still taking 3 here. They're down to 9. We've got an Endurance. I think we fire this off to stop them getting a Murktide. And then we're attacking for 23 next turn. We could have gone for lethal that turn by invoking this guy, right? They're hitting our Cradle, sure. Maybe we're supposed to try and invoke this and go for lethal. It's an interesting line. A Boseiju. Now we can certainly do some stuff with this Boseiju down the stretch, but I think I'm just going to continue doing what we've been doing here. Making some little friends. Now, this is most of our opponent's life total here. Shoot the Sheriff. Okay. It's not most of their life total anymore, but we are just chipping them down and we're just making our board better and better every single turn. They live in fear of a Gaea's Cradle. At the moment, I do think it's best to use our mana to keep making guys here, rather than blowing this up and trying to get this Green Sun Zenith on the go. I think this is still the case as well. Petty Theft on our Ranger. Okay. Play this out, we'll make a guy. So we could hit this right now, we could just play out this Ranger. It's fine to play out the Ranger here. Can't be counted anyway, so. What's the harm? And then we'll Boseiju this at end step. And get to go. So block 1 here, take 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have lethal anyway. But we can start doing some Green Sun Zenith stuff if we need to. Just feels like we are very far ahead this entire game. Even through the cage. Yeah, our opponents had enough. I don't blame them. This is one of the reasons to play a deck like this. It seems very strong into these sorts of shells. Alright, let's go to round 4. Alright, I like our opener here. I will keep this. Probably go get Basic Forest, Jamless Hierarch. It does leave us without white mana to cast the Nomads if we draw it, but we're probably going to be grabbing it with this. Get that Forest. Play this Hierarch. It gives us the most amount of options for next turn. We have more mana available. We getting ploughed? We getting ploughed. Understood. Stoneforge, that's quite the Magic the Gathering card, isn't it? What are we going for? Just a Cauldron. Alright, we have a clock on the game. We know how long this game is going to last. We have the tools to beat this. I'm debating whether or not I play out this Tropical Island. I don't think I do. I think I play out the Boseiju this turn. I think this is Ranger Danger and Zenith for 1. Or for 0, sorry. Just get the Dryad Arbor going. Just accelerate out. I'm not expecting counter magic too much from our opponent's deck. They are showing us Esper colours though, so they could have a few forces in there, but I'm not expecting dazes and things. But maybe that's just a vibe check of mine and they could have them. If we have the option to play around them, we'll think about it, but I don't know if we will. So next turn we can play Nadu and still not have enough mana. Take a hit. We can take a few of these hits and that's fine. So we can play Nadu here. Actually, no, we are okay now. We've drawn this Ranger, right? No, we're not okay. We're going to play the Nadu out though. Do you have Force of Will? Blue card, we're playing around Days. We have the option to do that right now. I do have the Force of Will. Okay. That does make things more difficult for us, but we can still get there. So next turn, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, that's a Nadu. And then the turn after, 1, 2, 3, 1, that's a Nomads. So we'll finish this game on a low life total. Obviously, if our opponent's got some more disruption. They showed us a Spell Pierce as well. Maybe they're a bit higher in counter magic than I was expecting. Baleful Strix. Don't care about that one. Do we care about that one? 5, 6, 7. No, we don't care about that one. Once Upon a Time. I'm going to float here. I'm going to tap this. I'm going to untap this, bouncing this forest. I'm going to play this forest. Cast this Chord of Calling. Can I have Chord of Calling, please? We can have Chord of Calling. Okay. I would like to untap this creature. We also get to Chord now as well. Can I have Chord of Calling, please? They got Days. They're ploughing our Nadu. I think we are still getting the Nomads here. Because this just gives us the best chance to dig into a Nadu next turn. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 mana, 5 mana. So we have enough to, once upon a time, into Nadu. 5, 6, 7. Also, the plough bought us a little bit more life. It shouldn't matter here, but maybe it does. We're getting pendinged. That is unfortunate. And Endurance can do some things for us. I think the play here is to, once upon a time, our opponent's just kept us enough off balance every single turn here. None of these cards actually do what we need it to. So how are we surviving? Endurance. Endurance probably helps us survive for another turn. How we cast this Nomads if we play this Nomads out? We're not, right? Okay. I think we still take the Nomads here. So 1 mana, 2 mana, untap this, 3 mana. We block this. We take 1, 2, 3 damage. We don't have white mana to cast this Nomads though. That is really frustrating. Wait, we get 1 more mana, right? So we can cast this. Right, so we go 1, 2, this, untaps this, bouncing this. No, we've already played our forest, haven't we? Yes, we do just have to play the endurance out. I guess we'll take some stuff out of the graveyard in case we're in Snapcaster. I don't think attacking for 2 here helps. I wonder if they attack with just the germ. Is this a pending on our endurance? It is. This is 5, 6, 7 damage. We can block 2 of it, and that's us dead. Yeah, our opponent just kept us balanced just every turn. Just couldn't quite go over the line there. So, what would I like to do about this one? How much do we have to respect the Cauldron plan? That is the question. Because we could board in some of this stuff. Like we're definitely boarding in this pending over this Ouphe. That's a given. We could trim on something like a Keen-Eyed Curator and get access to a plough. And maybe we could trim on one once upon a time for a plough. Do you want an endurance, maybe? Alright, I've convinced myself that we don't want to get killed by those things. We could bring in the Gilded Drake and just steal their germ token, but I don't think that's the way. I'll keep this. I wonder if they have much space for Wasteland in their deck. Let's have a little look with this once upon a time before we start the ball rolling. I do like Springheart Nantuko a lot here. Nomads is kind of the thing we're trying to assemble. Are we just going to try and assemble our thing? I think so. I think this is Hierarch. I don't think Hierarch gets a Force of Will. Yeah, it's probably just going to get a removal spell, but then we can Allosaurus Shepherd next turn if we want to. Getting pending straight up. It's going to remove everything we play. They certainly feel like doing that. Green Sun Zenith, that does get us towards the place we're trying to be at. So this can be coming to play tap land. I think we're just going to try this Shepherd out. I'm not going to play this Nomads. Feels like they're holding the removal for that. We're going to get Hedge Maze. But obviously the Allosaurus Shepherd is worthy of removal as well. I suspect our opponent probably has quite an abundance of removal in their deck. They're going to be lighter on the win conditions front. Let's get that Hedge Maze. Birds of Paradise. Don't want you. Sorry, birds. I would like a Hierarch, please. I'm attacking for 2 into Snapcaster Mage. I don't believe so. I'm going to put out this Dryad Arbor. Get that out of the way. Again, I don't think we're playing the Nomads. If we get Toxic Deluge this turn, that's probably game. Like, we do have the combo in hand so that we can recover. But it's going to be hard for them to just get a nice 3-for-1. Alright, they don't have Toxic Deluge in hand. Ponder, sure. And Endurance. I don't hate the Endurance here. Attack for 2 with the Hierarch pumping the Arbor. Just hold up this Endurance so that we've got a threat to play. A Brainstorm. So this could be a Murktide Regent. We could have Endurance first to stop this. I think the next window we get, we're probably trying to jam this Endurance. A Ponder. So we need to have an untapped land that taps for blue to make a Murktide off of this. I think I'm going to hold off a little bit longer. Maybe get a pending or something, or a plough pointing to a creature that doesn't matter. Fetch land. If they crack this fetch land, I will play this Endurance. Okay, they didn't crack the fetch land. At end step, I will play the Endurance. Just get all these things out of the graveyard. No Murktide, no Snapcaster, no Mystic Sanctuary, none of that. Let's get the Hierarch down. Trying to make our opponent answer what we're doing. So we can try and go for the combo now, where our opponent doesn't have that much mana up. Does play into a Daze. No, we can't do it this turn, actually. We can't do it this turn because the Hierarch's tapped. Alright, we'll just pass it over. Shows my creatures tapping for mana for Chord of Calling. Are we going to see a Supreme Verdict here? Certainly a possibility. Particulars Archive first. Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. We just slapping that Cauldron in play? We are. Okay. Cradle, just to give us more mana to work through stuff, would be reasonable here. Allosaurus Shepherd. I like this guy. Get Nomads in. Do the Nadu thing. We can remove our Allosaurus Shepherd. They're removing our... Okay, so they don't have a counter spell here. But we don't have a thing to combo with our Nadu yet. But if they want to remove our Nadu, it's going to give us a card at least, or any of our creatures. We also now have 5 damage in this sky, which is pretty decent, and can outrace this Cauldron based on our current life totals. It's just 5 mana. Wrath of the Skies, X equals 3. Yeah, that's pretty good. So that leaves their Cauldron stranded in hand. But they've got 3 cards and we've got none. So I don't mind a little Zenith action. I don't think we fire it off now though. Yikes. Having a tough time. They're on a lot of control decks that exist in current Legacy, but it certainly feels like it's bothering us a bit here. A Chord of Calling. So if we have another land, we can Chord for 1 and then Zenith for 3. Containment Priest. Yep, well that sucks for us. We did brought in the removal in case they had something like that. Glad we didn't just fire one of these off willy-nilly. But yeah, our opponent seems to have all the tools they need to win this matchup. Just remove everything we do, counter spell at the right time, and then have luck pieces like this. There's a lot to ask for us to get through this. Big Daddy Behemoth. Not able to cast the cards in our hand right now. If we had a second Dryad Arbor, I might have been tempted to go get it with the Chord in response to the Containment Priest. But we're just trying to draw one of our 4 removal spells and some mana so that we can start deploying these other things. Eventually our opponent will have 7 lands, and then this Cauldron gets hard cast. Unless they have a Brainstorm, one can shuffle it away into a real card. A Grafdigger's Cage, sure. That's another piece of the puzzle. Our opponent is well equipped for this matchup. Birds of Paradise, boom. Okay. So we need to remove. If we draw something like an Endurance, we can just throw that in front of the Containment Priest. I think we still got 1 or 2 Endurances in the deck. Yeah, we've still got 2 Endurances. Alright, they're just killing anything on sight. That means they have more removal, because that is not worth a removal spell, in my opinion. I don't think their deck can afford to play Wastelands. And Endurance, okay. We have a play. Do we shuffle our own graveyard in? It's pretty good. Or do we just stop Murktide from happening? Surprise blocker. Is this a hardcast Force of Will with the 5 mana you have available? It is a hardcast Force of Will. Okay. We still have to keep playing this out. Like, the game could be completely lost at this point. We don't know what the 4 cards in our opponent's hand are. But we do have to continue playing this game. Right, let's go and return this Hedge Maze and get an extra Surveil going. A Windswept Heath. We do need a land at some point. But I don't think that point is now. So we're looking for Springheart Nantukos that we can just start growing our board with. That would be quite handy. And Endurance can obviously block the Containment Priest. We could just cast a Nadu as a fair creature. Birds of Paradise. Let's try and Hedge Maze again. Again, I don't think we're about those lands just yet. I can attack here. We've seen... Have we seen any flash threats? We've just seen the Containment Priest. I think I'm willing to get the bits in here. That's how we're going to have to win this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they draw another land, they get to hardcast a Cauldron. Because they haven't brainstormed. So this is still in their hand. A Thought Seize. Sure. What are you going to take? Are they going to take the Behemoth? They might do, because that's how they could lose if we have a Cradle or something. In comes their guy. So we're on a 7-turn clock and they're on a 13-turn clock. But we have a lot more creatures in our deck than they do. So we're way more likely to add to our clock. Let's get some Surveil action going. A Nadu, you say? That's a card that has text on it. Now, they seem to be holding open this classic Force of Will spread of mana. But we're not really in a position to do anything other than jam here. And maybe they don't have it. Maybe they're just really trying their best to represent it. But what wouldn't they be casting here? Like removal if they don't think our creatures are worth removing, maybe? A land. And they didn't play the Cauldron. They'll certainly pay around any soft permission they have. But it's just going to be a hard cast Force, isn't it? There it is. Now are they going to play this Cauldron? I think they should. Gives them a 2-turn clock. So what do we need to beat this? Good question. So they're going up to 8 mana here, so they might have Cauldron holding up Plough. Sure, we could have bounced our Hedge Maze there just to get a bit more selection. But this game's over. Okay, so we take 7 here. And we're dead next turn. Powerful sideboard cards are powerful. But also, you know, they've had all the removal all the time. We play this out. It doesn't do anything. Let's just scoop that one up. Yeah, that felt pretty brutal. There's not a lot of control in the meta right now, but boy howdy did it slaughter us. Let's go to the final round. We're currently 2-2 looking for the positive record. Alright, we've got half of what we want here. think this is reasonable. It kind of just plays some okay Magic the Gathering until it does something busted. Oh, okay, we're just dead on turn 1. Maybe not. Okay, so this looks like Ouphe or spells would be my immediate impression here. So let's try and draw an Endurance straight away, please. I think they probably just take the Keen-Eyed Curator. Yep. I imagine they're going to win before that guy's ever coming online, but you never know. Let's get this Hierarch going. We've got a decent selection of sideboard cards for this. Alright, untapped. We're going to see here. 3 mana. Undercity Informer. They don't have the mana to pop it immediately. Alright, we didn't draw the Endurance. Can we put an Endurance in play in any way, shape or form? I don't believe we can. Right? So this is free to cast if we're playing out the Cradle. Oh no, this works, right? This doesn't work. We're still way shy here. We can Chord for 2. What does Chord for 2 get us? Nothing. Sweet, sweet nothing. Okay, but maybe our opponent doesn't know that, and they're going to wait for some... They're not going to wait for disruption, they're just going to go here, aren't they? Let's be honest. If we get one more turn, then it's lights out. Just horror this Endurance all the live long day. So Dark Ritual. Just sacrificing this in Undercity Informer. A Thought Seize. We'll do the biggest chord we can do. Maybe they'll freak out and scoop. Okay, they didn't freak out and scoop. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? None of this matters. None of this matters at all. We get Collector Ouphe. Maybe it does something here. I think our opponent's just going to win this game though. But at least it's going to be a mercifully quick round, I suspect. Yep, Undercity Informer. Let's just see what particular build you're playing. Are you on the mono black? Are you on the Pact of Negation? Okay, so we've got Pact of Negation here. Unmasks. Can't see the green thing, but that might be the sideboard plan. They have this game anyway. Just seeing what was in their list. Okay, let's go to the sideboard. I would like some Deafening Silence, please. I don't believe these Consigned Memories are going to do anything. It's possible. Same with these Force of Vigors. These are things that might do something. Prismatic Ending, probably not doing anything here. Our opponent doesn't play out their stuff in this matchup. So, we want to keep the Once Upon a Time because they give us more hits into turn 1 Endurance. We do not require a Sylvan Safekeeper in this matchup. We do not really require Quirion Rangers. I do like the Allosaurus Shepherd because that blanks their Pact of Negation. We're not really trying to do our thing, are we? We're just trying to stop them from doing their thing. So this is 61 cards. If we want these 5 cards, then we have to find 5 more cards. How do I feel about Springheart Nantuko? We probably don't need it, so they can become some Force of Vigors to blow up Chrome Moxes. Or some Consign to Memories, maybe. And then, I don't think we're cutting mana dorks. Do we need this Craterhoof? I don't know if we need the Craterhoof, but I guess we should probably keep it in. We're going to try and submit like this. I think there is definitely an argument for the Force of Vigor, purely because we can blow up some Chrome Moxes with the imprint on the stack, or if they play some stuff out. They're not going to play their stuff out because we haven't shown them any black mana, so there's no discard that they're worried about. They're more worried about things like Force of Vigor, so they can just play around it. So I think this is the best configuration we have. This doesn't have any graveyard interaction. I think we have to mulligan this. This one doesn't have any graveyard interaction. We probably have to mulligan it. This might have some graveyard interaction and makes a turn 2 Collector Ouphe. I think that's fine. Probably get rid of these 2. Alright, let's cast this Once Upon a Time. I'll show you an Endurance. That means they know they have to play around it, which isn't ideal, but I will take it. So we probably want the Savannah here, and we'll get the Trop off the other one. Plays Hierarch with the intention of playing a turn 2 Collector Ouphe. Maybe that shuts down some of their artifact mana. Maybe they just kill us this turn. Maybe they have to spend a turn thought seizing our Endurance. Alright, Endurance, goodbye. Maybe the Collector Ouphe will do enough here. It's possible. Our opponent's got a Lotus Petal heavy hand. Obviously, I have to take the Endurance there. I believe we play out the Birds of Paradise rather than hitting our opponent for 1 here. This gives us more mana next turn if we draw any sort of Chord of Calling style effect. Or Green Sun Zenith means we can go and get the little raccoon and have more mana invested into it. If they're playing this Bog untapped, we're almost certainly dead here. Unless they don't have the mana to pop it this turn. Then we have one turn. Alright. One turn, you say. Come on, deck. Alright, our opponent has to respect that a little bit. We'll keep it in hand. They might be able to beat an Endurance, but we'll see. And Unmask. Targeting us. Yeah, that's just a game. They're just going to do their thing. Alright, we got crushed by that one. So we finished with a 2-3 record, which isn't great. Now, we did play against a control deck, which is like 10% of the field in total is the entire macro control archetype. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad strike against the deck, given the current meta. But the Oozle Spells deck was a bit of an issue for us as well. Maybe we could have kept a turn 1 Deafening Silence hand, and that would be okay. Although it still would have killed us turn 2 with the hand they had there. So, I don't know. Let's talk about the deck. So why are less people playing this? And why did this one fall out of favour compared to the other Nadu decks? Well, more so than the other Nadu decks, because all the Nadu decks are being played less than I thought they would be. But Cephalid Breakfast seems to be the one most people are playing. So the reason for that is Nadu didn't lose anything, but the format lost Vexing Bauble. And what Vexing Bauble did was meant that people weren't able to counter people's spells as much as they wanted to. Which meant playing Force of Wills was sometimes detrimental to what you were trying to accomplish. So by playing a deck that's just really dedicated to doing what it's doing, you also know that you're going to be playing against a bunch of decks that are Vexing Bauble decks themselves, which means that they're not going to be countering your spells. And because of the amount of Vexing Bauble decks, it meant that there were fewer Force of Will decks that we had to try and grind through. That being said, this deck is pretty good against a lot of the Force of Will style decks. Like, you saw how easily we smashed through that tempo deck. And I think that would be the case most of the time when you played this. But also, when Vexing Bauble was legal, the Karnforge deck was easily the best Ancient Tomb deck in the format. However, now that Vexing Bauble isn't there, the deck that most Ancient Tomb gamers are winning with is the mono red prison deck, which, as we saw, provides quite a challenge for us because they've got Fury, they've got Pyrogoyf, they've got Broadside Bombardiers, they've got Blood Moon, they've got Chalice. Now, yeah, we can get through some of those things, but they're going to have multiple. And, you know, if they have the right combination of them, they're going to give us a bad time. So I think that makes things a little bit more difficult for us than we maybe would have liked to have seen. Especially since when they were on Vexing Bauble, we didn't really care about that. But now that they're on Chalice, it actually does impact us a lot because of this slot here. So that might be a reason. And we've also seen the builds with loads of Furies in now is like sort of a standard Fury plus Pyrogoyf, which means there's just way more removal for all our guys. And Fury is a horrible thing for this deck to see because it just completely undermines our entire setup. Now, we can just do turn 2 busted stuff. We did demonstrate that this league, and that is going to beat most stuff. So I think the reason this one is the least popular, I think this is the least popular of the Nadu decks now, is because Cephalid Breakfast is the best of the decks. I don't think it's close. I think Cephalid Breakfast is definitely the best Nadu deck. I think the reason for this is Vexing Bauble was a thing that hurt its combo and also hurt its protection of Daze and Force of Will. Vexing Bauble is gone, so it gets to do its graveyard-based combo as well as having its own protection in the form of Daze and Force of Will. So it basically just got a massive upgrade without losing anything. So I think that is the reason why. And also that deck can just hang with the really fast decks as well. It can just turn to clock you whilst also saying, actually, you need to respect my counter magic. Maybe I don't have it, maybe I do. And sometimes I do have it and it ruins people's days. So I think there's a lot of ways in which Breakfast is really strong. The other Nadu deck is what we call the Nadu Zenith deck, which again is a Force of Will deck. So it gained a lot from Vexing Bauble leaving. It meant that you could play this control style game with this big draw engine to finish with. And, you know, that seems pretty reasonable. People want to play control. There's not really that much viable control. There's a few people playing like Jeskai Stonebladey type stuff. But generally speaking, the closest thing to a control deck, weirdly, is the Nadu Zenith deck, which plays very much like a control deck with a bunch of removal, prismatic endings, counter spells. It's cantripping its way through, all that sort of thing. And then it can assemble this Nadu combo and just have this draw engine where it's drawing all these control cards that you're never going to get through. So this particular build we're playing today doesn't have these levers it's pulling. Now, you know, we can go and get main deck Collector Ouphe, which is nice, but it's not as nice as it was when Khan-Forge was, you know, the best deck win percentage-wise. So that's a bit of a problem. I think this build is set up quite nicely to beat Reanimator, but we just didn't play that today. But Reanimator is the best deck at the moment in terms of putting up top 8s at present. So I like how it's geared into some of the meta, but I think some of the meta is a little bit more hostile to this, and we don't have the flexible tools like the counter magic that you get from the other decks. So it's a bit of a hard sell to play this instead of playing like Breakfast. I think playing this instead of the Zenith build is fine. I think they're kind of similar, like this and the control build in terms of quality. But I think really if you want to be playing Nadu, you should be playing Breakfast, because I think that deck is phenomenal, and I've been saying it's very good for a while, and I think it just got better with the bans. But it doesn't seem to be making the waves that I thought it would, but it's starting to creep up in representation in top 8, so we'll see how the next month or two turn out. Alright, I hope you like this one. Maybe next time I try this, I might try a natural order build with like a few more big hits, so you can just kind of recover from nowhere by just making a guy and turning it into an Atraxa. That might be something that might help this deck out, but again, you're trying to play into counter magic, which might be more difficult because there's more of it around. Anyway, we're done for today. Please remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.